Good day, grade 12. Welcome to another lesson with KHUMALO.M, the Geography Sangoma. Grade 12, today we are going to look at urban climates. Now, this is one of the questions, or this is one of the topics that are in your paper 1 as you are going to write your examination. As we usually start with the exam guideline. What will you be required to know on the examination guideline? Now, the urban climates on the NSC examination guideline. So the urban climates, the examiners expect you to know the reasons for difference between rural and urban climates. The urban heat island. Under the urban heat island, you must know the definition, the causes of urban heat island, factors contributing to high temperature, city temperatures in the cities, effects of urban heat island, looking at economic, social, and environmental effects, strategies to reduce the urban heat island effect. Then we have to look at the pollution dome. Under the pollution dome, we have to look at the definition, the causes of pollution dome, the effects of pollution dome, the economic, social, and environmental effects of pollution dome, the strategies to reduce the pollution dome effect. And then we also have to know how to interpret synoptic weather map, integrate with relevant content, use international symbols, identification and characteristics of high and low pressure cells, interpretation of the impact of high and low pressure cells, reading and interpretation of station models, the satellite images, reading and interpretation, compare the satellite images to synoptic weather maps. So that is what the examiners will expect you to know in this topic. So when you're studying, you must ensure that you cover all these aspects of the examination guideline. Now, to start off grade 12, I want us to look at the terminologies. Terminologies such as acid rain, a form of precipitation that is acidic due to water droplets dissolving gaseous pollution molecules. And then we've got the term albedo. Albedo is the amount of incoming solar radiation, which is insolation, that is reflected by the Earth's surface. We call it albedo. We've got condensation nuclear, the particles of dust, smoke, or salt that water vapor sticks to and on which it condenses, also called the hygroscopic nuclear. So the hygroscopic nuclear and the condensation nuclear is one and the same thing. The hygroscopic nuclear, it is the small solid particles in the atmosphere on which water vapor condenses to form tiny water droplets. These water droplets now merge, that means they combine to form acid drops, which results in cloud formation. And then we'll talk of isotherms. So this is the topic where we talk about isotherms more than the isobars. So the isotherms are lines on the map connecting points having equal temperature, or you can say that line joining places of equal temperature is very important, grade 12, for that. Then we've got plume. A plume is the smoke or dust of fire or water in the large quantity of it that raises into the air in a column. Then we've got pollutants, which is the dome-shaped concentration of polluted air above the center of a city, but that is not pollutant, that is pollution dome. The dome-shaped a mass of polluted air temporarily trapped over a city and industrial area, that is pollution dome. A smoke, a thick ground level fog caused when water droplets become polluted with chemicals and gases found in the atmosphere due to pollution. The mixture of smoke and fog, it is smog. Then we've got urban climates. What are urban climates? The climatic condition specific to a large urban area. Then we've got the last concept there, which is urban heat island. The temperature over the city is warmer than the surrounding rural areas. When the temperatures in the city are warmer than the surrounding rural areas. Now, let's look at other things that you have to know in urban heat island. Now, I want us to look at this summary. Remember, your teachers here in Gauteng have taught you grade 12s these climate and weather, these urban climates. Now, obviously we will look at the urban climate versus the rural climate. Is the first time that we hear the word urban and rural? No, we have done it in settlement geography. So we have done it in settlement geography. So we are excited because we know what is an urban settlement. We know what is a rural settlement. So we know what are we going to be dealing with here. So a cross section of an urban climate is this one. Now, let's look at the temperature, the climatic conditions in a city. Now, temperature warmer due to the lack of vegetation and transpiration. So now, the temperatures in the urban settlement, they are warmer. So I am comparing in this table the rural settlement climate and the urban climate. So the rural climate and the urban climate, I'm comparing them. This side of the table, it is the rural climate, and this side is the urban climate. So the urban climate, the temperatures are warmer due to the lack of vegetation and transpiration. So there is less vegetation, there's less absorption of heat, more artificial heating, air conditioning, vehicle emissions. So we know in the cities, grade 12, there is more artificial surfaces such as your buildings, such as your tar road, a lot of infrastructure that is found. Actually, the lot of buildings or artificial surfaces that are found there in the cities, including your air conditioners and your motor vehicles, they emit certain gases that contribute to increasing temperature. More artificial surfaces such as tar, concrete that absorb heat, and the temperatures are more high because there is more dust and pollution which prevents heat from escaping. So the heat will not escape from the city because of more dust and pollution. Now, why are the temperatures are cooler in rural areas? It is because they are cooler due to few artificial surfaces and more vegetation cover. So there is more vegetation cover in rural areas than in urban areas. So now the reason to that, it will lead into rural climate having cooler temperatures because there are less buildings. Yes, you remember where you come from, Limpopo. You know that there are lesser buildings and more vegetation cover compared to Pretoria, where you are, where there are tall buildings which we know as skyscrapers, those buildings that are made of glass and they absorb. Now, what other climatological conditions we can compare? We can compare between the two. The pollution. Now, in urban climate or in urban areas, there is more pollution and dust due to industrial activities. There are more activities, industrial activities. What are industries, grade 12? Remember, we are talking about those industries, those businesses that deal with manufacturing and processing of goods. So they release pollution because there are many industrial activities in the urban areas than in the rural areas. Then there's combustion process and traffic that leads to pollution. And then in the rural area, there are few clouds because of less hygroscopic. There is less pollution and dust particles. So there is less pollution and dust particles, and we look at cloud cover. There is more cloud cover form as there are more dust and pollution particles in the atmosphere of the urban climate, while in the rural there is fewer clouds because of less hygroscopic nuclei. And then we talk of precipitation. Remember, precipitation is any form of water that comes back from the atmosphere in form of rain, snow, hail, thunderstorms, whatsoever. So there is more rainfall and hail due to more hygroscopic nuclei in the atmosphere and strong updraft of air in the urban climate or in the urban areas. And also in the urban areas, there is warmer temperature which causes more evaporation. So warmer temperatures causes more evaporation in the urban areas, while now in the rural areas there is less rain and hail because low temperatures and less condensation. So obviously there will be less low temperatures, low evaporation, and less condensation. Then there will be less rainfall. We know that we have done it in grade 11, we have done it in grade 10. Then we look at the relative humidity that is dealt with in grade 10. Now in urban areas, then low evaporation and relative humidity due to lack of vegetation cover and natural resources. There is less surface water to evaporate and warm air can hold more moisture. That is in the urban climate. And then in the rural, the higher relative humidity due to water retention in soil and vegetation. And then wind speed is less as the buildings create friction. So you can see in urban areas, grade 12, we've got those tall buildings which I've said that they are called skyscrapers, so they do not allow an easy flow of wind, hence the speed of wind is less, and which create friction and acts as a windbreak. So a windbreak is going to be formed due to tall buildings. Then there's a greater turbulence because wind is channeled between the buildings, so there's a greater turbulence. While in the rural climate, the wind speed is higher, the turbulence is less due to open space. So there's more open space than in urban areas. So now the main important thing that you have to understand in this topic is to understand the concept of this topic and understand the difference between the climate of urban areas and the rural climate. So the urban climate versus the rural climate, that is how you have to study this topic. Moving forward, grade 12, we continue the fog and visibility. So in urban areas, there is more fog and poor visibility due to more hygroscopic nuclei and condensation nuclei, and fog is a problem in winter when temperature inversion traps pollutant close to the Earth's surface. While in the rural climate, there is less fog that results in better visibility. Remember, the important factor about visibility is that if there is no clear visibility, there will be more accident or there will be more traffic congestion in terms of urban areas. But we can't talk of traffic and congestion in rural areas. Then we look at these the climate versus the rural climate in terms of air pressure. There is low air pressure because there are warmer temperatures in the cities than in the rural areas. So in the rural areas, there is a higher air pressure because it is cooler temperature. Remember, I said to you, grade 12, that now the relationship between air pressure and temperature is inversely proportional. What does that mean in simple terms? It means when the other one increase, the other one decrease. So when temperature increase, pressure decreases. When pressure decreases, temperature increases. So you must understand that, and it must be playing in your mind. Then the other thing that examiners will want you to know is the urban heat island. So what is the urban heat island? That is the temperature over the city is warmer than the surrounding rural areas. So when the temperature over the city is warmer than the surrounding rural areas, we tend to call it urban heat island. Then we look at the isotherm. So they might give you a graph like this, grade 12, where they give you isotherms. So what is an isotherm? An isotherm is a line on a map connecting points of having equal temperatures. Or you can state it like this. You can say it like this: the line joining places of equal temperature. That is isotherm. So here is a top or a plane view of isotherms. Then now we have to also look at in terms of day and night, the difference between day and night in urban heat island. How is the urban heat island, how is different between the day and night? As you can see in the diagram, grade 12, there are two pictures that shows, one shows day and the other one shows night. So let's look at the characteristics of urban heat islands during the day. So the heating causes the air to expand and rise to the heat island, it grows vertically. So now during the day, our urban heat island is going to grow vertically. As you can see now, it is expanding, growing very taller and taller there. While now the inversion layer is elevated vertically. Because of vertical growth, the heat is less concentrated. It may take a mushroom shape. So we are going to get a mushroom shaped urban heat island during the day, and then it conforms the shape of a built up area. The pollution is dispersed over a greater area. So the pollution is dispersed, so there is a lot of pollution is moving across that urban heat island. And then we look at during the night, it is cooler, so the air becomes dense and sink. So our pollution dome, we expect our urban heat island to be lower than during the day. So that heat island will be lower than during the day, and the less heat results in decrease in the turbulence. The vertical dimension decreases. The inversion layer is closer to the surface. Now the inversion layer, it becomes closer to the surface. The heat island is more dome shaped and pollutants are more concentrated. So during the day they are less concentrated, during the night they are more concentrated. The dome is denser and shallow. Shallow, it means that it is a bit narrow than during the day. The trapped heat is more concentrated over the CBD area. So more heat will be where there is the city center, or the CBD, which is the central business district. So that is where the temperatures will be high. But now, why would those temperatures be high? It is not because of the buildings, but it is because of the hygroscopic nuclear effect. Now we continue. What are the causes of the development of urban heat island and the impact on the environment and humans? So the first thing that you must understand here, grade 12, is the causes of urban heat island. What causes urban heat island? It's artificial surfaces. In urban area, we've got buildings that are made of glass, concrete, stone, brick, tarmac, iron, absorb more heat. So all these artificial surfaces, those are surfaces that absorb heat, and now they reflect less heat, so they absorb heat. And then the increased surface area that can absorb heat, roof and sides of buildings. So the roof and sides of buildings, they do what? They absorb now the heat. So it's a large surface area. Then we look at the production of artificial heat, like combustion of factories produces heat. Now, the artificial heat that is produced by factories, air conditioners, and emission air conditioning units releases warm air, and there is an emission by vehicles release heat and pollution. So those are artificial heat emitting objects or artificial surfaces that causes or lead to an urban heat island. Now, what is the impact of urban heat island on the environment and humans? Let's start with the environment. The surface absorbs heat during the day and radiate heat into the environment at night. So during the day, the heat is absorbed, and then during the night, it is released. And then the glass radiates heat back into the atmosphere. There is an increase of urban smoke. Remember, we said smoke is a mixture of fog and smoke. They make what we call smog, which is due to a high temperatures, and then there is an increase in evaporation rates, and this creates now what we call a pollution dome, which I'm going to explain in not so long. And then what are the impacts of the urban heat island in humans? It increases the discomfort. So when it's very hot, we kind of have discomfort. You like to have more air coming in, you want to have to drink water or whatsoever. Then it exacerbates the heat stress and death during a heat wave. So during the heat wave, it is going to bring what we call a death. But now with heat stress, what is heat stress? Heat stress is that type of a feeling where you feel very hot, you don't even know what even to do. Now that is heat stress. And then you will feel lazy to do things, you will feel lazy to walk. That is heat stress that is exacerbated by the urban heat island, and then it reduced visibility because of smoke. Now, while there is a reduced visibility, grade 12, due to smoke, that simply tells us that now the cars will not move as they are supposed to move on the road. There will be traffic congestion. Remember, in geography we don't call it traffic jam, but we are calling it traffic congestion. And then the increased cost because of greater water and energy use. So there is an increased cost in humans. And then we continue. Now, we look at the pollution dome. Now, what is the pollution dome? Since now we know what an urban heat island is. Now, what is a pollution dome? Now, a pollution dome is when dust, soot, and chemical emissions are trapped in the air, in the warm air of a heat island. The dome becomes a pollution dome. So now the pollution dome will result from a urban heat island. So a urban heat island forms, and then it leads to pollution dome. As these chemicals and dust are trapped over a city, then it becomes a pollution dome. You can see now a cross section. If you can be asked to draw a cross section, there is a cross section of a pollution dome. The pollutant acts as a hygroscopic nuclei. So they act as a hygroscopic nuclei and attract water vapor to them, and fog develops. So since it acts as a hygroscopic nuclei, therefore it's going to attract water vapor. Remember, water vapor is water in form of gas. Remember, when you boil a kettle at home, then when the water starts to boil, you will see a steam, but we don't call it a steam in geography, we call it a water vapor. So when that water vapor mixes with that hygroscopic nuclei, therefore it's going to form what we call a fog. Then smoke, a thick ground level fog causes when water droplet becomes polluted with chemicals and gases found in the atmosphere due to pollution. So now when the fog meets up with smoke that comes from the industries, then it's going to form what we call smog. And then grade 12, we look at the difference between the day and night in a pollution dome. Now, during the day, the convection of warm air in the center of the city causes a low pressure cell to form. So there will be a low pressure cell that forms due to convection of warm air. The warm air rises vertically and cools down and diverges at the upper air to spread out to the rural areas. So simply what is happening is the same thing that is similarly happening to the urban heat island. It's just that now it includes pollution more here. The air circulating in the dome spreads the pollution vertically, and it is more dispersed. So now there will be more pollution will cover a larger area. Then pollution is carried away by upper air divergence. So the pollution will be taken away, or it will be carried away by an upper air divergency. Let's remind ourselves, what is divergency? Divergency is moving apart. Convergency is moving. It's when air masses it comes together. It's coming together and moving apart. That is divergency and convergency. So here it will be pollution will be carried away by upper air that is moving apart, which is diverging. Now, cooler air flows into the low pressure cell from the surrounding rural areas, while during the night, cooler air at night results in pollution developing very closer to us, very closer to the surface. So the danger of it is that the pollution dome will be closer to us during the night. So we might get sicknesses like asthma due to what? To the pollution dome that is closer to the earth's surface, because there is a dominance of cold air that is descending over a city. This results in the pollution being dense and cannot escape the city. Pollution is more concentrated because the inversion layer is closer to the earth, and pollution cannot escape the dome. So since the pollution cannot escape the dome, then we are going to inhale that pollution and we are going to get diseases, sickness conditions like asthma attacks. Now, let's look at the causes of the development of pollution dome and the impact on the environment and humans. Now, the causes of pollution dome is the emission by vehicle exhaust, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxide, burning of fossil fuels when you do your braai there or when you bathe tires, that is burning of fossil fuels, carbon dioxide, and sulfur oxide, the pattern of air circulation, and high levels of air pollution in the city. And then the effects in the environment, there is an increase of cloud cover and precipitation. The acid rain develops, which kills the trees and erodes bricks and stones. Old paint, it peels off. Yes, have you ever seen in your house, grade 12, when your paint on the wall becomes brown? It is because of acid rain, which is caused by this pollution dome. Sometimes you see that your paint is coming out off the wall, then we say it is peeling off. Now, it contributes to global warming and climate change. And then into humans, smoke causes health problems, e.g. lungs infection, asthmatic attacks. And then smoke reduces visibility and it causes accidents on the road. It leads to poisoning. It may result into petrol fumes in humans. And then now, because we know we cannot stop this, it's a climatological phenomenon. So hence we are going to say, grade 12, we have to understand the strategies to reduce urban heat island and pollution dome. Now, the following are the strategies. Make surface lighter colors to become more reflective and less absorbent. So we paint our buildings with bright colors so that they can reflect light instead of absorbing light. And then greening of cities by planting trees in the gardens, onto the pavements, and in parks. So we must plant more trees and plant more vegetation cover so that they can absorb heat. And then trees increase transpiration, which decreases air temperature. Trees absorb carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. Trees reduces energy costs as it has a natural cooling effect. So now trees, they give us what is called the natural cooling effect as they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, which is needed for us human beings to survive. The trees reduces energy costs as it has a natural cooling effect. They invest in energy saving strategies such as solar panels and glass roofing and grass roofing. Develop sustainable public transport. Instead of many people using their own cars, we may use public transport so that we can reduce these problems. Implement building restrictions on height and material used in buildings projects. Do not use glass or reflective substances as building materials, and controlling the amount of pollution released from factories. Now, those are the strategies. Grade 12, you may be asked in an exam to write a paragraph, approximately 8 lines, on strategies to reduce urban heat island or pollution dome. So they might take out the question as urban heat island, or they take out a question as pollution dome. So you must know these. It may come out in an exam during this trial that you are writing on Wednesday, or in the final examination in November. This is from me, KHUMALO.M, the Geography Sangoma. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.